Hello there. Here I am to share with you how to make a card using Pretty Perennials and the Perennial Petals dies. You can see there are 23 of them. Isn't that amazing combinations we can do? This is the card we're going to do in this session. It has some Daffodil Delight, some Coastal Cabana, some Gorgeous Grape, our basic white, and some designer paper from the True Love black and white selection that's available at the moment, and a bit of ribbon. As you can see, you can probably add some rhinestones and various things to it to make it your very own. But for this case, I'm going to show you how to make this particular card. So let's get started. I'll just leave that where you can see it. I have cut my paper. So I have my 5.5 by 8.5 Daffodil Delight, and the only other one that the rest of these are going to be stamped and die cut, but the white is 4 1/4 by 2 3/4. So to begin with, so that we can stamp on there, I am going to attach my designer paper. You can see I've got a little bit different direction going on, but it will work the same. And for most of my stamping, I do prefer to use, well, not stamping, for my projects, prefer to use the liquid glue because I can adjust it a little bit before it dries. And I want that to be lined up, and it looks like it's almost lined up on the side as well. But I am going to trim just that little bit off. So there we go for that. And my cord's hanging in the way here. So for my stamping, especially with photopolymer stamps, I like to use a piercing mat. And even though that's not listed in our current catalog, it is still available. So if you're interested in that, let me know and I can steer you in the right direction. Stampin' Up! Had thought they would take it out until they heard back from so many of us that we needed it. So this is one of the stamps from that set called Happy. And if you look at the set, you can see there's all kinds of words to go with it. So for this one, we're going to use Happy and You Make Me. So now that I've got my designer paper, I can stamp my word, and it will go off a little bit, but it's not a big deal. Because they're photopolymer, I can see where they're stamping, which is good because as you can see, my block is a little wonky, but my stamp looks great. Then while I have the Gorgeous Grape out, I am going to stamp my two smallest watercolor flowers, and I have marked my stamp with a mark there, and when I get to my help if I knew for sure which die cut it was, this one. When I get to my die cut, I've also marked it, so I'm going to stamp in a direction I know, so when I go to die cut it, it should match fairly easily. So in my case, I have a small piece of Gorgeous Grape, and tone on tone, far enough apart so that you can do the die cutting, and that will go over to my die cut machine, which I will bring in a few minutes to show you. Next, I will stamp You Make Me with the Memento Black, and I like using, bounce the table here, like using the black because it is crisp and shows up clear. So there is my stamping done, and the reason I do that before, well, I'll put the paper on so I know where to stamp it, and then this, and then I'm going to do the rest of my stamping so that I can have the pieces all ready before I start assembling. So on my Coastal Cabana, I'm using the second smallest, the middle watercolor flower, and again, you can probably see I have a line in there, and I only need one of those, so I'm going to aim that towards the top, hold it for a few seconds for the color to transfer, and because it's a watercolor kind of image, it will go like that. And there again, I have lined up my die like that. That's all there is with the Coastal Cabana. Gorgeous colors these are to show us spring is coming. Then for the larger one, again, just need, I've got that one mounted wrong because I want my marking to be near the top. That's kind of the way that I look at them. So again, I'm going to stamp that one. And really, really like these watercolor images. And then my larger die again has a mark. And yes, this did take a little bit of time to organize, but now, whenever I grab these stamps and dies, I should be able to stamp with them quite quickly and cut them out. Stamping isn't hard. It's the matching up with the so many different humps and bumps to line them up properly. And kind of a little bit OCD happening with me, and I want things done right. So if you can see, the background of the card has these little polka dots. This is made as we will use it in a different flower as a flower kind of image. But for here, we're going to use it just as a background. And you can do this with any of your stamps, tone on tone. And just basically, you can stamp off the edge. Doesn't matter. It's just giving it a little bit of depth. We find that it's probably easier to move the paper around, cardstock, than it is to try and turn your stamp in your hand. That way you can hang on to the stamp the same way all the time. And just go around, hoping that I'm still all in the camera with the stamping and not shaking the table too bad for you. So there's my background, and as you can see, basically I wouldn't have had to do the center, but when you get stamping and it's fun, you just carry on. So that is all the stamping. You could stamp on the inside of the card if you chose. I did not for this one. So now I'm going to bring in the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and we are going to do some cutting. If I get plates. This machine is new to Stampin' Up! World this year, and it is ideal because it does fit most anywhere. The sides do fold up for carrying, for transportation, and it comes with numbers as to how you're going to put your layers in to cut. So for die cutting, I need a number 1, I need a number 2, and I need 2 number 3s. So quite self-explanatory. So I have my number 2 plate, then my 2 number 3s. I do find it easier or better to keep one for the bottom, the cutting side. Then I'm going to place my stamped image with the die, and most of the time it will stay put. put my second number 3 plate and run it through. If you have issues with it moving, you can use washi tape on it.